And the good news is, if we're working with brands, which we do, we've got a load of data. We've tested a load of stuff, so we know to a degree of confidence what's going to work. And by having that learning, we can then apply it to the brands that we're working with and say, you get a head start. We can see that this has worked. We'll apply something from that that has resonated with the audience, and we'll apply that to your communication. So the kind of identity piece of being a couple. We've worked with it a lot from an editorial perspective, lots of pieces of video about this particular couple doing things that couples do, so weird things that all couples argue about, for example. We could then apply that thought of couples to a piece of branded work for a car brand. I'll play you this quickly.
Ernie drives too slow.
There's a car!
Sarah!
We've been together for a year.
For 5 years.
33 years. We line dance.
Step forward.
I come from London.
I don't have an accent.
From Connecticut.
She forces me to do things and be social.
He's a bit of a lone wolf.
She likes to tell me how to drive.
Go!
He kind of sits low in the seat, looks up.
I'm looking at the road more than him. There's cars going. Let's do this.
All right, here we go.
Oh my God. That's what makes me nervous.
Ernie talks a lot.
Yeah, you gotta be careful going down there too. Patience is a virtue.
Blah, blah, blah.
I started driving when I was 3 years old.
As he's driving, he'll start talking about Back to the Future, Star Wars.
A quick turn to you, totally fine. Now I'm back on the road, going slow enough. You're the only person that's ever pointed this out to me.
I am the most honest with you.
Sure, it
Stop
doesn't
sign.
matter. Stop sign, I see.
You just totally go into this zone, and you're like, for bloody sake!
What do I say?
You say for bloody sake. You're the worst. Parallel park. Dude. It's like.
You get the picture. But having that kind of that identity piece around couples allows us to kind of transfer that over to different scenarios that we work with on branded content. And this is our poster child, so taking editorial learnings and applying it to a piece of branded content. Cats on the internet. Amen. So this was an editorial piece. This was Sad Cat Diaries. We saw huge engagement with this. It was a cat that has a sad face, and it was kind of narrated with a human voice. That's about as complex as it was, but it's brilliant. What that allowed us to do is kind of see through the commentary, through the sentiment that we're getting from this piece of video content. When the right brand comes along, people like a talking cat. Dear Kitten was born. Quick show of hands, anyone seen Dear Kitten? Oh, we have a few. Excellent. Look it up, it's brilliant. Actually, don't bother, I'm going to show you. But what happened with Dear Kitten is the learnings that we've taken from Sad Cat Diary, we applied to it. It was a huge success, got something like 25 million views, well above what we forecast, and the work was so well received by the client, in this case Friskies, Purina for Nestle, that they serialized it. So now we're on version 7 or 8, I think, of Dear Kitten. The really interesting thing about this is kind of the cat in different scenarios, kind of welcoming a kitten into the house, doing, what have we got up there? Welcoming a dog into the house. They also produced a piece of content called Dear Kitten Regarding the Big Game. And Nestle used that as their Super Bowl ad. So it's taken that journey from being purely a piece of online content to being used in above-the-line creative, which is kind of rare and a real success for us. So take a look.
Dear Kitten, you've probably noticed that there's a new thing in the house. It is called a dog. And I know this because before you, I had a best friend named Peanut. Rest in peace. At first, I assumed Peanut was just a very ugly cat. Charming in his own way, but terrible breath. Awful. So, Kitten, here are some things that you need to know. Dear Kitten, imagine a cat. Now take away independence, cleanliness, and intelligence. What you have left is basically a dog. Here's an example. Yesterday, I saw the dog sitting on his butt, scooching forward with his front paws, and he looked over at me. And you know what he said? He said, "Check it out, I'm walking on 2 legs just like the peoples do." I mean, it gives you an idea of what we're dealing with here. Dear Kitten, you might see me get a little ninja crazy town now and then. You know, like a... Don't get freaked out. I'm just expressing dominance, which is... Oh my, no, you are not good at that. Oof, that was actually worse. It looked like your spine just sneezed. Oh boy. Dear kitten, you might hear the phrase, a dog is a man's best friend. That is, frankly, incredible marketing on their part. I don't know how they did it. They're certainly not buying ads in the newspaper. I mean, have you seen what they do with newspapers? Trust me, it's the opposite of reading, if you know what I mean. I mean, they poop on them. Dear kitten, the dog is the sort of creature that will decide whether it should put something in its mouth by putting it in its mouth. That's the level of decision-making that goes on. They basically eat everything. Case in point, butt paper. They even eat those weird brown dehydrated pip nuggets that the humans give us. Don't get mad. Let the dog eat all of our dry food. If it gets caught, it gets put in jail. And right then, we can enjoy the moist deliciousness of the can without interruption. It's a gambit. Dear kitten, you may hear the dog being referred to as a poupée, which I think is some sort of a French way of saying puppet. This explains why they attach that string to him from time to time. Worst marionette ever, if you ask me, but the point is, if they try to put that string on you, just freeze. You don't want to get into show business, trust me. Dear kitten, yes, the dog can be cuddly at times. I mean, just today he came over and he started licking the inside of my ears. Was it weird? Yes, but also rather pleasant. Don't judge.
Again, you get the picture. Do look them up. They're absolutely fantastic, and all of the kind of Dear Kitten series have got millions and millions of views. So does a great job. Where we've been able to take this client to the next level is think about that distributed strategy that I spoke about earlier. So producing assets for multiple different platforms. So getting recognizably the same style, the same tone, the same kind of characters, this very talented cat, but using it across all the different platforms. So people are kind of recognizing wherever they happen to be on the internet, on their phone, on apps, that they're seeing these assets that they recognize come from Purina as a brand. And they do this. That's it. So having that kind of journey from written content to video content to distributed assets allows us to produce a real kind of nice breadth of content. With that breadth of content, we can reach more people and hopefully have more impact, however you happen to measure that impact. Quick run through like the again, huge success of our distributed strategy. Tasty, we launched last year in the US. It's the biggest food content site platform in the world very, very quickly. So reaching about 400 million monthly active users a month with this stuff. Some of these videos are doing 125 million views in a weekend. And the reason that it's so successful is we've kind of taken learnings from that distributed strategy. So lives on Facebook, but there are nuances to kind of producing content on Facebook that we've recognized and has allowed us to be able to have success with this. So we know that if you produce a video on Facebook that is square, it's much more successful than producing a video of any other shape. Reason being that when someone consumes that piece of video, they don't need to flip their phone to watch it. We also know that if you produce a piece of video on Facebook that works with or without sound, it's much more successful. If it makes sense without sound, most people are kind of consuming or having a Facebook experience on the go on a mobile phone when they're commuting or kind of traveling around the place. So having that kind of sense check of does it make sense, even if people can't hear it, will make the video much more successful. So for those of you that haven't seen Tasty content, I will just show you this quickly. all of those videos follow that same format. So under a minute long, square, work with or without sound. And as I say, delivering millions and tens of millions, hundreds of millions of views. What we've learned from that and what we've learned from our other kind of strategies of producing content is if we take that Facebook experience, that's fantastic, but what if we put it everywhere? So we produced this particular piece of tasty content. It was very, very successful on Facebook. We decided to try it on all the other platforms that we have available to us. And what that allowed us to do is reach 82 million people in 24 hours across all of those platforms. It's a huge reach if you're able to kind of capitalize on all the different platforms you have available to you. What's next with Tasty? Hopefully some of you have seen Proper Tasty, the UK version. Food's universal, like everyone eats food. Anyone doesn't eat food? Don't understand. Everyone eats food, but there are nuances of food. So people in the UK eat different food to people in the US, people in Brazil eat different food to people in the UK. So we've now launched UK, Brazil, Spain, France, Germany. Different versions of the same thing in all of those markets. But why limit it to that? So if you think about Tasty as a food channel, that's fine, and we can internationalize and we can produce more food content for more markets. But if you think about Tasty as a template, why don't we do other things that are universal? So anyone here not live anywhere? Welcome to Nifty. Nifty is home, DIY, hacks that you can do to kind of improve where you live. And it's been hugely successful. So we launched this in the middle of March. I think it's got about 6 million, 7 million page likes, and again, tens of millions of views happening on all the pieces of content.